had.
My God, you can see how it was done.
But there is more, Mr. David Icke. Say, I think these men were secretly manipulated. I think these men had their fears and secret beliefs played against them. It is the easiest thing, said, to manipulate a man who rules a country and who suddenly feels himself unsecure. For example, the British appear to have pursued a double-edged strategy in South Africa. They did it in Natal, they did it in Lesotho, and they did it in Swaziland and in Botswana. What did they do? They used to manipulate the white Afrikaner settlers, the Boers, into fighting the native people. And then they used to send agents to the embattled black kings to tell these black kings that the best thing that they could do is to place their people and themselves under the protection of the British Empire.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Yes, sir. Now, let me ask you, sir, how did a black king know that the English were the most militarily powerful people at that time? The Africans only saw their immediate enemy, the Afrikaners. The black people only saw the Boers traveling in their ox wagons. They only saw the muskets of the Boers. But here we have a situation where a black king learns from someone about the powerful ships, sea-going ships, and the huge guns that the British have got. And this king is then advised to place himself and his people under the protection of the British. It was a strategy that the British pursued in different forms deep into Africa. They often won huge swaths of mineral-rich territory without even firing a shot. They had gun runners who smuggled bundles of muskets, tower muskets, and even Snider rifles to black tribes. And wars between the Afrikaners and the blacks came into being in Lesotho. One of the reasons that forced Mutwa to make Lesotho a protectorate under Great Britain was because he feared the repeated attacks which the angry Boers were launching against him, because some of his people were attacking the Boer farmers and stealing their cattle.
Can we talk about people like David Livingstone and those that charted the interior of Africa, etc.? Because it seems, Credo, without question, we're looking at an unbroken stream here, with one element of the takeover following another. So surely those, quote, heroes of Britain that charted the interior of Africa must have been involved in the story.
They were. They were. In fact, I can say to you now, sir, that the man in whose home Livingstone stayed, namely Reverend Moffat, was the one man who was grinding down King Hama's mind. He was the one man who used to send books and newspapers to Khama. They were living in the land of the Botswana, and they lived alone, a missionary and his wife. Reverend Moffat had a family of children at Kuruman in the Northern Cape. And Reverend Moffat received Livingstone. Reverend Moffat, because he was viewed by the Botswana as a man of God, could do what he liked in the land of the Botswana. He carved himself a huge stretch of land. He planted any vegetables or fruits there that he chose. Early in his arrival, he found that area teeming with buffaloes, which is why it is called Kuruman. It's really a corruption of the Botswana word Udumane, the gathering place of the buffaloes. Moffat used to welcome explorers and hunters, many of whom traveled alone through South Africa. And these hunters and adventurers, people like Reverend Campbell and others, were going through South Africa, exploring. Some of them wrote books about the local customs and the local tribes that they encountered. And I think these explorers were much more than what they seemed to be.
So how was Christianity used? We talked about the fact that the beasts of the terrible blanket, these strange people that appeared before the Europeans, had introduced all the symbols and what have you that prepared people for Christianity in Africa. How was it used once the Christianity the Christian religion arrived?
I will tell you, sir, from what I saw as a young child, the Christian religion, or rather the missionaries that brought it, behaved like dictators. They ill-treated our people. They humiliated them. And they stole huge tracts of land from our people using the name of Jesus Christ. I want to give you this historical fact, sir. If you go to Natal, near Durban, and you come to a place called Marian Hill, near Durban, you will find one of the biggest and one of the oldest mission schools in South Africa. Marian Hill sits on huge tracts of land. These tracts of land were stolen from the Zulu people by a missionary called Chimlet. And even to this day, the people of Marian Hill can tell you that that man was not just a missionary, he was also a crook and a pitiless exploiter of the black people. He was a monk, but he was much more than a monk. It was said that this Chimlet worshipped not God, not the Virgin Mary, but Satan himself.
Well, that fits like a glove from the way the Illuminati work. And the other thing that must have happened, fundamental in so many ways, is that the original knowledge, the knowledge that you carry and people like you carry, must have been destroyed, pushed underground,